the NFL may be a booming business, but I wouldn't want to be Roger Goodell right now because some people need to make his life very uncomfortable in the media. He should not get a clean pass. A letter that says we didn't get it right, to me, is not enough. And I think you're right. Maybe you don't step down, but I think a good look for him would be some self-sanctions. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's suspending yourself without pay for X amount of time or if it, but sanction yourself so that people can say, hey, he held himself in some way responsible, even if it's just a stupid public relations gesture,
Well, we pretty much know how the media works, and if they want him out of there, I'm sure there's a way that they can put enough pressure on him to...
Well, I can give you billions of reasons why the owners don't necessarily want him out of there. So I don't know if you're going to get that.
It's the owners that want to keep him in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look at the money. And the money's getting ready to go up even more,
Well, that's all I got for you. I just wanted to get your take on...
I appreciate the call, as always, my man.
All righty. And I thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bruce. Have a good one, buddy. 216-539-7535. 216-539-7535. I'm going right back to the phone lines. Let's see how this worked. Going to the hold. Bam. Caller, you're up on the Sports Fix.
J-Rock Daddy.
2 callers on hold at the same time. We made it happen, Captain. LG, how you doing, my man?
Man, I'll tell you, this whole thing is way hitting. And, you talk about his wife, Ray Rice's wife. I mean, come on, J-Rock. Half the people in the world don't really understand how the sports groupie business works. Now they lost their meal ticket. He's losing millions and millions of dollars. The Ravens are taking well over a $10 million salary cap hit by cutting this guy.
Not only that, but they can't get their $15 million rights to get the signing bonus back by cutting him. They actually give up their rights of going after that money too.
Well, that just goes to show you how much money is floating around in this NFL football. But let's just talk about why. You hear a lot of whys today. Why is his wife coming out and saying Ray Rice is a poor, understood guy, and he, so what? He hit me. Let's talk real about this, man. Listen to the culture of the black people, and I'm not by any of the means prejudiced. You know that I've had business partners in the past.
That's a tricky line you're about to go here, LG. Telling you, that's a sign. That's a sign to watch the line you're about to walk here, man.
Well, I don't care, man. I'm going to walk the line anyways. But let's talk about that for a minute, man. These groupies come out of the woodwork, and you know as well as I do, any professional sports player, the gates are lined up after these games with these women just trying for the chance to put their claws into one of these professional athletes. It don't matter if it's baseball, football, basketball. I mean, come on. I was good friends with the guy that runs the Cavaliers security, and when LeBron James first signed with the Cavaliers, they used to hide him in a hotel, J-Rock, and put him somewhere where even the players, his teammates, didn't know what room he was in. You had women scaling hotel buildings trying to find guys like LeBron James. So these women, I'm not making excuses for what Ray Rice did, but what I'm telling you is this is a widespread problem that people aren't aware of. Ray Rice isn't the only guy out there.
Okay, no. Let me stop you, LG,
though. Professional athlete.
Let me ask you, though, I'm just curious, what you're talking about now, groupies, I get that. What does that have anything to do with this, though?
No. I'm saying, people are saying, why is she sticking with him? Why did she marry him? Why did she stand by his side after he blasted her? I'm telling you why. It's the meal ticket. It's the money. That's what these groupies do. Obviously, she's a very attractive woman, J-Rock. That's another thing, and I hate to say this. I'm going to be realistic here. You hardly ever see professional athletes that make millions of dollars walking around with an ugly woman. Am I wrong?
I mean, that's one of the perks that comes with the job. Absolutely.
You could be one of the ugliest, biggest, fattest dudes in the world if you make enough money. There's some girl that's going to latch onto you. That's, that's your trophy.
I know.
Wife.
You're right. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
These women, you wonder, okay, say you did that to your wife, J-Rock. She'd be down at the police department. Let me tell you another thing. In the state of Ohio, once your wife calls the police and have you a warrant or makes a complaint of domestic violence, did you know that the prosecutors in the state of Ohio take over those charges? They don't even...
You can't drop them.
Go back tomorrow and say, you know what, J-Rock's a good dude. I don't want to file. She don't have nothing more to say about it. They're going to prosecute you to the fullest extent of the law,
absolutely,
regardless of what your wife's feelings
It's
are.
because of that. It's because of the fact that you're right. It's like that here because many times the spouses change their mind or they're pressured to drop the charges or whatever. So you're right.
Yeah,
here,
the husband
where
comes
we're
back
at,
to the home and says, oh, my God, if you put me in jail, how am I going to support the family? How am I going to do this? And that's why the laws in Ohio work that way. Where you don't have a choice. Once you make the complaint, your husband's getting, or your wife, wives do domestic violence as well. It's just not a one-sided thing.
Let me tell you something, LG. Using your example of me, if I wouldn't have made it back to the house from the hotel before 7 or 8 well-armed, aggressive, angry police officers wrestled me to the ground, handcuffed me, not so politely took me down to the police station and treated me like the vile criminal that I am, and I would have been plastered across the newspaper. Of course, the plain dealer would have had to find room underneath the Browns headline, but they would have found a spot for me there somewhere, and they would have put me front and center, and trust me, it would not have been the same first offenders process, keeping everything quiet that Ray Rice got had it been a normal person like you or I. I'm telling you, I know people.
Well, there's absolutely no doubt that there was favoritism played here, J-Rock. And let's get to the bottom line. The bottom line is this. Had there been no security footage, had there been no security camera footage of this assault, this brutal assault by a guy who you claimed yesterday should be registered as a deadly weapon, because you're right, he is a finely tuned athlete that is in better physical shape than most normal people running around loose. But let's just say this, J-Rock. Had there been no video surveillance film of this brutal act taking place, the 2-game suspension would have been upheld, and chances are he would have been back playing in the NFL. So
he'd have been playing against the Browns.
The lesson that these NFL players need to learn right now is don't attack your wife in front of a video camera. Because trust me, J-Rock, these roid rage maniacs that are out there on the football field, as you keep saying, can't even be detected for some of the drugs that they're using. I mean, look at what a wild man Lyle Alzado was, All it would have took back then was a drop of a nickel to set somebody off like that. And you can't tell me that more of this stuff's not happening. Look at the guy in Kansas City that went home and shot his girlfriend to death 2 years ago, man. I mean, this is a widespread problem with guys that are wound up bad fights. And it doesn't take much to set them off.
Ray Caruth is Ray Caruth. How about that? You don't need to go further back than a few years to find a guy who went well over the cliff, and obviously lives were lost in the process. And you know what? You make a good point about the cameras because, and I say this a lot. How many thousands of these? You think this just started? This is just now reached an era where everything is recorded on camera, so people are now unable to hide from these ugly truths. But this has been ingrained in the NFL for a long time. But like you said, up until recently, hotels, elevators didn't have cameras in the elevators. Forget
about hotels and elevators for a minute, J-Rock. People need to realize everywhere you go today, outside in neighborhoods, there's some type of surveillance cameras that are capturing people on film. And the funny part is, you see these criminals all the time trying to contest they didn't do it when they got video footage of you doing it, man. That's hysterical to me.
I know. And not just that, you don't even need the government or the police or the buildings to put up cameras. Everybody's a walking paparazzi in 2014, as you see.
Absolutely.
I mean, so it's, and I like that. I like that. I do think that sometimes little things get way blown out of proportion, but at the same time, without that, this doesn't happen. And 6 days from now, Ray Rice is back on the football field, and he's practicing to play against the Cleveland Browns in 2 weeks. So there's a good and a bad.
Without a doubt, J-Rock, you're 100% right. If this was not caught on Memorex, there would be nobody contesting this right now. There would be no reaction. I mean,
and
even with Goodell and the cover-up that took place.
Brother, maybe 10 years from now, LG, maybe they're building the other Ray statue to put next to Ray Lewis's if this video doesn't come out. I'm exaggerating. He's not that good of a running back.
But you're not exaggerating, J-Rock Daddy, because how could anybody do an investigation without seeing the evidence like Bruce brought up? How could anybody justify their job as an investigator? And as your guest said yesterday on yesterday's Sports Fix show, the NFL has FBI guys working in there, man. This is like, we probably have enough security in the NFL. You could have your own little CIA organization. How could all these guys be negligent at doing their job? They saw the footage. I can't buy it for 1 minute that they didn't see the footage, and they didn't want to talk about it because it was an ugly thing and it put a black eye on the National Football League. And I got to tell you, J-Rock, I bet you there's a more widespread problem with spousal abuse in the NFL than we're even aware of.
I agree with you, and I think, you know what, and we were talking, let's wrap this up when we talk about his wife and the statements that she made supporting her husband. I'll tell you, like Bruce said, or the mayor earlier, about being a bad example to young girls, I agree with that in two ways. Number one, that's a bad example, but, some people say, oh, well, loyalty is a good example. I don't care. To me, that's allowing yourself to be a victim, but not only that, had that gone a different way, maybe. Let's just say if that statement talks about how important it is to fix these problems and to get the help that you need instead of covering it all up, maybe other wives around the NFL go, hey, you know what? We've got a problem over here. We've got a little bit of an issue here, and maybe one or two other people get some help. But whatever, missed opportunity there. And like you said, a lot of people say it all boils down to the gravy train. But I say in 2014, you could have easily taken the video of getting hit in that elevator and you could file a lawsuit against that man and you could take a whole lot of his money. So I do agree that money may be part of it, but I think there's love, because you could have gotten money out of this situation. If that was your only goal, she could have reaped the financial rewards for leaving him.
Well, there's obviously talk about the love for a minute. There's some women that like it rough. They like rough love.
I'm not even going there. Nobody likes that. Nah, I know what you're saying in a bedroom way, but nobody likes that. No, that's ridiculous. And maybe
for sure it's ridiculous. But let me tell you something, man. You know as well as I do. We've talked to old coaches in the NFL, like Coach Sam. 3 out of 4 of these athletes are bankrupt 4 years after they leave the NFL. Now Ray Rice just got his career cut way short. This lady, his wife, will find fame and fortune because she's a victim. She's covering up that she's a victim. She's trying to stick by her man. She'll be on every major talk show for the next 3 years. As soon as this thing comes to a boil, she's either going to leave him when he's broke, or he's going to explode again in the next couple of years because he's broke and he lost his way to make a living. And let's face it, J-Rock, even going in, you're thinking ESPN's going to hire just think of what this did to his marketability other than playing in the NFL, because you know as well as I do, their meal ticket is on television or an analyst somewhere or calling games. J-Rock, he just shot that right to hell as far as I'm concerned, because you say he's too radioactive to play in the NFL. He's too part of society that's a major network market as far as I'm concerned as well.
I absolutely agree. He's done. I mean, look at how long it took Michael Vick to get a second chance, and in no way am I in any way lessening what he did, but his offenses didn't involve human beings. This, to the normal, average, everyday person...
You know as well as I do, what Michael Vick did to these dogs is much worse in some people's eyes than what Ray Rice did to his women. Now what I want to tell you is, me and you know the difference. We understand this was a human being, and they shouldn't be treated like dogs or whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of people in the world that feel more sorry for innocent little dogs. Just like you said, unfortunately, your son's young, He didn't understand the difference. So what? She got in your face.
No.
Your dad and my dad always fought us.
Don't misunderstand what I said. No.
You need to be the bigger man and turn your back and walk away, man.
That's not what I meant about Jerry. Let me qualify this because Jerry's not like that. What I meant